Hello and welcome back to the channel, and thank you for joining me in another of my wonderful interviews. Now, on my channel, you've probably heard me say too many times, we've got to take back responsibility for our lives. We've got to get back to those simple things. And you've heard me say it, and I often, when I'm at my talks, I'll say things like, how many of you go to the supermarket still? How many of you awakened souls still go to the supermarket and buy nutrient-free food? And it's amazing how many people still put their hands up. Well, I'm going to be talking to a young man, and this is what's really interesting for me because he's only 27. And as you know, most of the people who come on my show are sort of that over the hill age, my age, and what have you. So it's really exciting to have people who are young because they are the next generation and they are the influencers of the future. This gentleman runs his own podcast. It's called The Simple Life with Sam Podcasts. His name is Sam Anderson, and he joins me now about getting back to earth and nature. Sam, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Richard. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's a pleasure indeed. So listen, I mean, I mentioned that your youth is very important, and I think more and more now that the awakened community, perhaps if I can put them like that, the freedom and the sovereign people, are tending on the whole to be a much older set. And so it's very encouraging when younger people come along and say, actually, do you know what, I'm thinking the same, along the same lines, that we are losing our place in this very materialistic world, and there's some things that we ought to think about. Now, I know that you specifically want to talk about perhaps the little white pills that we've all found as a great way, apparently, according to the pharmaceutical companies, to make ourselves better. But that, in recent times, I think a lot of people are beginning to realize is not necessarily the way to go, and there are alternatives.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think a lot of people in this day and age, especially the older generation, as you say, or the younger generation as well, it's easy for them to go to a shop and grab a pill and just take that for however many days they need to take instead of getting to the root cause of the actual problem, the illness or disease they're currently facing. I mean, the pill itself will only treat the symptom, and people are happy with that because they're not feeling any of the problems. But time and time again, that same illness will come up and they won't sort of take a second to reflect and go, why aren't I, what's the problem here? Why aren't I getting to the root cause of this? And we don't, I sort of think we forget as well our hunter gatherer times and ancestors before us. I mean, most of the stuff we see in the food stores 100 years ago didn't even exist. But back to our ancestors and hunter gatherer times, they would have just used our natural resources, anything they could find through plants, natural medicines, natural remedies, fruits, anything they could find there. And we've just sort of lost touch with that.
And don't you think it's, I mean, one of the things that sort of strikes me is here we are in the 21st century, supposedly at the top of our game, using the best science that we know about, not necessarily the occulted science that's been hidden from us, but the best science that generally we know. And yet we seem to be at the point where we're more ill than we've ever been.
Yeah.
And people are dying suddenly from various different
Mm.
reasons, which we better not touch too heavily on.
No.
But people do generally seem to be very stressed. They're very run down. They don't seem to be happy, even though we have apparently all these wonder cures which are being provided for by people who are making a lot of money out of it. And yet it feels that we ought to be a lot happier, less stressed, and able to thrive. And for some reason, we're not.
Well, with the drug industry and the pharmaceutical industry, a healthy body is of no use to them. Only sick bodies and sick, illnesses and disease, that's what's going to generate profit. So if everyone was happy, thriving, using the natural remedies and natural resources, that means no money for them. And then they go out of business. And they certainly don't want that. They want to keep getting the money. They want to be wealthy. They want people to be ill. They want people to be sick. So I think with most pills these days, sure, it will cover one symptom, but then the possible side effects are going to make you just grab another pill. And the cycle
Mm.
goes on and on and on. And I think a lot of people actually do suffer from not being able to afford any of the medicine anymore. I think that's also a cause of the stress because they can't afford to pay for these medicines. and they just end up in the cycle. And at the end of the day, it's just going to cause them more stress when really they could just go and find some natural remedies that are going to be a lot cheaper, and they're going to get to the root cause of the illness as well.
Some of these natural remedies, I mean, there's lots, it seems to me there's lots of books out there with these alternative remedies, and people buy them, put them on their shelf, flick through them, and then forget about them. We do seem to be a lazy bunch, don't we
Yeah.
humans at the moment? And is that because everything's just done for us? I mean, this is the argument I put, is that, now you may not remember this because you're young, but I seem to pinpoint when the, where is it? Here it is. When one of these came out for the first time,
Ah,
so that
yeah.
instead of having to get up to the television and change the channel by tuning it in, you could just sit in there. And to me, it sort of signifies, it may not have been the earliest thing, but it sort of signifies how every time life is made easier, we don't then follow some of the things that we did. And so it is easy to go to the GP when we're ill. No, we're not taught any of the plants that are medicinal
No.
and helpful. And so how do we get back to that?
So I think, like you say, I think a lot of people, it's easier for them just to go and grab a pill that says it on the packaging what it
Mm,
does, and not actually, because a lot of the pills that people will take has a lot of ingredients in there that they won't even know.
mm,
They'll see it and go, okay, this must be good. It's on the medicine. It's on this, it's in this pill. It must be good for me. But they won't, like you say, become a bit lazy with that. We won't take the time to actually go, what actually is in this? Let me have a little look up here. Let me have a little research on here. And it goes back to like the TV remote. They'd rather just click the button than go up and change the channel like you would used to. I think people aren't willing just to do the research themselves and take a look at things and just say, okay, why am I taking this and what's actually in this? What ingredients are in here? Is this going to be harmful to me, or is it going to cure me? And most of the time, 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, it's not going to cure you. It's just going to cover a few symptoms. And then time goes by and you're going to be having to take it again and again. But I like to think, and I think anyone can say this, I think anyone can agree with this. Why would we as humans, we've evolved all this time, evolution, we've gone back thousands and thousands of years, but why would we be put on this planet to not have the natural resources and remedies to cure us? It would seem a bit illogical. It's like people say the sun's really dangerous for you, but why would the sun be here in the first place? Why would the sun be here?
well, if the sun was as dangerous as everyone's claim, none of us would be here anyway, because we would have all died from some sort of skin cancer before we got to 5 years old.
Exactly. And the sun is the most and the best way to get vitamin D, which is what our body needs. But I know we've not really touched on sunscreen, we can do, but with sunscreen, it also blocks the vitamin D that we need. And most
Mm.
people, funny enough, get sunburned from wearing sunscreen. But if you, there are some ways you can help prevent that with the sun getting sunburned. But the key point is the ingredients that you're putting on your body from the sunscreen is what's causing you to get sunburnt and causing you not to get the vitamin D, which is what your body needs. It stops it producing that. So all
Yeah.
these chemicals that people are putting on their body, I mean, I also like to think, why would you put something on your body that you're not willing to put in your body? Because your body's going to absorb it in the first place. The sunscreen, it doesn't just stay on there. You can see it's absorbed into your skin. So why wouldn't you be willing to put that in, sorry, in digest it? Why wouldn't you
Mm.
digest it? If you're willing to put it on your body, surely you can put it, you can eat it, you can digest it. But people just go, no, that's really harmful for you. But then they won't stop to think, okay, I've put it in my body. Surely that's going to be harmful for me as well. But
Yes.
I think as well, like I've got a bit of information here if I can just grab it. There's funny enough, so sunscreen was invented in the 1930s, and melanoma, which is associated with vitamin D, skyrocketed in the 1950s, shortly after it came into production. So we can see that there is a cause with sunscreen being a problem. And I think one of the causes or main ingredients in sunscreen is benzene. I hope I've pronounced that right. People can correct me if not, but that's also really harmful for your body and it can cause major illnesses as well, major illness for you. But at the whole point of it is it blocks melanin, it blocks melanin, which is what your body needs and produces vitamin D and helps you also get a tan.
So, I mean, I think a lot of people can sort of, particularly the woken up people who are probably most people who are watching my show, and this is one of the problems of doing a show like this. You want to be to go to people who have yet to discover all this stuff, and actually we're all in various echo chambers, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But most people will understand that chemicals now are perhaps not as useful as they once were. The problem, it seems, is because we've not been grown up with perhaps mums and dads who've been telling us about the wonders of certain plants, where they are, herbalists or herbal remedies or homeopathy and things like that. We're a bit stymied here because we don't know where to go. We don't know what to trust. And actually, you can buy a book and then there's a plant and there's still that slight nervousness, like going out and picking mushrooms. It's like, I know that that's a poisonous mushroom and these are supposed to be good. But even though that's in the field, there's still that worry that you're going to pick the wrong one, get ill, and you're not going to be any better off. How do we get past the propaganda, I suppose, that we've got now, so brainwashed that the GP, the doctors, and those people know the answer, and actually we need to trust more in the old the old hag at the end of the village that used to know all this wise stuff.
Yeah. No, you're completely right in what you're saying. It can be hard to dive straight into that and go into natural medicines and remedies. But I think people forget as well, like I say, our ancestors and hunter-gatherers would have grown up with this. They would have used these remedies themselves. They wouldn't have had these chemicals today, these synthetic chemicals made in some laboratory. That wouldn't have existed back then. And we are here today because of them. We came from them. And surely there must be a reason behind that and how the medicines worked. I think, again, with the pharmaceutical industry, we need to remember that if everyone was cured and then therefore we didn't need them, they'd go out of business and they wouldn't have any money, which certainly isn't what they want. They want to keep the profits and they want to be wealthy and they want to keep that going on for as long as they can, which is why if people get better, they start getting well, healthy, happy. We're not going to need them. We're not going to rely on them anymore. And that's certainly not what they want. But with the herbal remedies, it's obviously do your own research for those who want to as well. Take the time to look into this and see what you're feeling, what symptoms you've got, and see what remedies and herbal, like plants, medicine, spices, see what best aligns with you. And if you need reassurance, go again, do more research, watch some videos if you need to of people who are using this as well. Don't just blindly follow what I'm saying here. Go and do your own research, which is the whole point. You need to take back control of your own life, not just following what someone's been paid to tell you. I mean, we can go into the beginning of the pharmaceutical industry as well and how that started with the Flexner report, which is linked to John D. Rockefeller, and how they pretty much paid everyone the top grants to all the universities for medical industries to avoid going to natural remedies. They stopped everyone from taking it. They said, if you're going to put this out there, your medical license, you're not going to have anymore, and you're not going to be able to preach or speak anything about natural remedies. So they want people to be ill. They want people to be sick, because without that, they're not going to make money and they're not going to profit from that.
Yes, and I can absolutely see that from the pharmaceuticals point of view, it's a lovely, profitable business. They've proved that. I mean, let's look at the case when we had that medical intervention that was pretty much mandated across the world to everybody, and how much money has been made. But it turns out may not have been quite as useful as it was propagandized to all of us. So I think most people have got that pharmaceuticals is not necessarily the way to go. How do we get back to people, particularly young people, who have been brainwashed through all the adverts? I mean, let's face it, adverts are pushing, and especially in America more than any other place, the answer to being well is a pill.
Yeah.
And let's assume that people say, okay, that's one solution, but it's not the solution I want to follow. How do we persuade people who have been brought up with that day in, day out, and are still being propagandized with it through all the social media and everything else, to go and have the confidence to turn to alternatives? How do we get young people to do that?
Well, it comes back to wanting to take control of your own life. I mean, we can give everyone the guidance and information out there, but
Mm.
until they're willing to take the action, it's not going to, it's nothing's going to happen. They have to be the ones that are going to want to change. We can't change people unless they want to change. But
But
big,
you run
big,
a you run a podcast, don't you?
yeah. So my
So you're talking to that kind of audience?
Yeah, so my the main point of my podcast is helping people to bring about change in their life. Some people may want to change and want to self grow, they want to self improve, but they don't know where to start. And the whole point of my podcast is to give people guidance on that, give them
Mm.
information, the right tools, and how to go about that. Because it's hard. Sometimes it can be really overwhelming trying to change everything at once, and all these thoughts in your head can get a bit muddled up. But the point is, you're the one in control of your own life. No one else is. So you're the only one who can take that action to make that change. Um, so that can mean avoiding the mainstream media, mainstream news, because we know what they're putting out there. I mean, the biggest pharmaceutical companies, especially in America, as we know, I think pharmaceutical companies only adverts are produced in America and New Zealand, from what I'm aware. But the pharmaceutical companies fund the media in America, and then the
Yes.
media advertises the big pharma, and because of that, they're putting out all this scary news, which is going to, fund people's fears, you could say. And then
Yes.
because you're stressed and you're worried, you're going to cause stress on yourself, and you're going to make yourself ill. And then because you're going to be ill, it's then going to fund big pharma because you're seeing it, and the subliminal messages are there within the TV and the advertisement.
Yes. So,
So,
to, so
sorry.
I'm interested in trying to. I mean, I want to try and move away from the. We can tell that pharmaceutical companies is perhaps not what most people want to do
Yeah.
these days. So I just move in because I'm aware that I've got to be very
Yes, of
careful
course.
what we say on this channel. But actually, I'm much more interested in the fact that you're running a podcast. What sort of audience do you? What age range are they?
So
What is
it
the demographic?
so it normally ranges from what I've looked at between 24 to 37, around the 20s and 30s. There's some people older than that and a few people younger than that. But the podcast is for everyone
Mm.
because as we like talked about briefly before, some people wait until the last moment until they're in crisis to make the change. And I want people to sort of recognize that you don't have to wait until that point. You can make change in your life as soon as possible before it gets too late and you're in crisis. And then by the time you want to make the change, it's too late.
Mm.
You're in crisis mode and nothing you can do about that. So mine does really range from 20 to 30s, but I want everyone, no matter your age, to pay attention and tune in because you can take one thing away from what I've brought out there and from the people I've had on, then that's amazing. It's brilliant.
Mm.
You didn't have to, you may not resonate with everything that I've said or my guests have said, but if you can take one thing away from there, because as some people say, a quote can change your life.
Mm.
It can take 10 words for someone to then flip that switch in their brain and go, you're right. I can do this. I can make that change. And it's for the better. It's bettering yourself. You want to be you're in this world for a reason. You've got this life for a reason. You don't want to just waste it away, just eating junk food, just sitting on the couch all day, watching TV. You want to do the most you can with that and live the best life you can. And I want to
How
help people do that.
how's so that's really encouraging. So how do your audience respond to, particularly the younger audience? How do they respond to these? Um, I was going to say new messages, if you like, or this alternative world view.
I think a lot more people I noticed during the lockdown, especially during COVID time, but more so now. I've noticed sort of more people are sort of, as you say, waking up, becoming more woke. They're sort of realizing that you're right. Everything that gets put out these days is just negative. I don't really want to, especially in your first day in the morning, like every morning, you're normally
Mm.
turning on the news or the radio, and it's something negative. So people now, especially like more my age, the people I've seen more and speak to more, they're sort of realizing I don't need to listen to that. Why do I need to listen to something so negative in the mornings? I can just wake up and just have nothing, just be with my own thoughts in the morning, work out, okay, These are the thoughts I'm having. This is what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to work through them and just believe in themselves, knowing that they're going to have a great day. Because I think a lot of people in this day and age sort of forget about gratitude and how they'll just sort of moan about, I've got work today. Oh no, this has gone wrong. But for me, I like to wake up every morning, just be thankful that I'm alive, I'm here. No, another day here. It's another chance for me to live the best life I can, have the best day possible, and don't worry about the little things. Because I think a lot of people tend to focus on things they can't control. Like a good example I like to use is traffic. When people get in traffic jams, they'll start beeping their horn, moaning, swearing, and no, doing all that, it does nothing for you. You have no control over that. But what you do have control over is your mindset. What you, what thoughts you put in, what external things you put into your mind, what you watch, what you listen to, and people need to take back control of that. Don't just blindly just follow and listen to what other people are saying and doing, because they're not living your life. You are living your life. And you need to have full control over that and what you're putting into your mind and the thoughts that you're having. Because all these different things we watch and all these different things we see, they do interfere with us. They do have a reaction with us. But if you can control that and only input the things that are positive for you, then it's going to better yourself. Start just taking more control over your own life, and you'll have a much happier one and a much less stressful one as well.
And what's the feedback like from this sort of content that you put out from the younger? Are they agreeing
Uh,
with you? Are they flooding in their hordes to sort of say, actually, you what, Sam, you're so right. This is it. I mean, are they? Is there a movement? Do you feel? I mean, I'm hoping that the answer is yes. That young people are beginning to see through the trap of the past of
yeah.
this negative output from the media to get you worried, to keep your vibrations low, and to keep you sort of moaning and groaning and all of that, and not being optimistic about the future, and not sort of doing something about your health, and not having a beaming smile as you go to work.
Yeah, I like to think there is. From the people I've interacted with and the people I've seen on there, some of the comments, they all seem to be positive. I mean, no matter what, you can't please everyone.
No, of
You got
course.
no. It's hard, very. So there's no point in trying. You're not going to please everyone, so don't bother trying because it's only going to cause yourself more stress. I mean, you can look up to someone. I don't know if I can swear, but like kiss their bum if you want to. Like you don't. You can do as much as that as you want, but at the end of the day, you can't control how they feel about you. But from the people I have interacted with, it all seems positive. People want to start taking back control of their own lives. Stop letting the negative media, the negative news out there. They want to stop that. They want to take that and get that out of their lives. They want to start living a better life and start putting in the work to better themselves and focusing more on themselves and starting to let go of all these external factors that were taking control of their lives in the first place.
Your podcast is called A Simple Life with Sam. What do you class then as a 27-year-old in the 21st century as a simple life?
Well, I think again, it goes back to like everyone seems to be so focused on all these external factors and a lot of the stress from the external factors because we cause our own problems by doing that, by thinking about all these external things like how other people think about us, their opinions, the outcome of certain results. Like people for sports, for example, they could be really upset about the end of result of a football game. Like fans, for example, they could be so upset about the end score of a football game, but really it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you no matter what happens at the end of the day, a win or a loss. But a simple life for me is just focusing on what I can control, and it makes things so much easier for me. Like so much more. It's so simple these days. I don't have to stress about all these external things. Whatever happens, happens. I just use what has happened to my own advantage to learn from it and to grow from it and to better myself in case that situation happens again in the future. So I can then say, okay, this has already happened. I know what to do from last time. Don't need to worry about it. I could just move on with this. I know what to do now. So for me, it's just taking back control of my own life and just focusing on the only things I can control, which is my mindset, the effort I put into whatever I'm doing, and the thoughts I have. They're the main things I have control over. The food I take as well, and just letting go of all these external things that don't actually mean much because I can't control them. And since I let go of all of that, it's been a lot more stress free. I can say it's not. It's very simple life. So I don't need to start overworking myself, overwhelming myself with all these thoughts and everything about things I don't have control over. When as soon as I let go of them, realize, okay, if there's nothing I can do about it, don't worry about it. Just let it go. But if there is something I can do about it, great. I'm going to take action. And just that little question to myself there makes things so much more easier for me. It makes it so much more simpler because if I can take action, I will. And if I can't take action, I just let it go. And just that little thought process before doing something, it really does make things a lot more simpler for me and less stress free instead of just overthinking things and just worrying about things. But again, I try to stay as much as possible in the present moment because I think a lot of people's anxiety and depression can come from thinking in the future or thinking in the past about how life used to be back then or how the future is going to be and trying to control that. Like when tomorrow comes, they're always worried about, oh, what if this doesn't happen or what if this happens? But when you're thinking all of that, but it's not, it doesn't matter, it doesn't exist. You're just creating them negative thoughts in your own head. Because when tomorrow comes, it's going to be the present moment for you. And then 9 times out of 10, the thoughts you did have don't even occur. They never actually happen. But we just sort of create these fake thoughts in our own mind and just make it worse for ourselves. But by staying in the present moment, just saying, when tomorrow comes, I will be prepared for it. It just makes things so much more easier for me, not having to worry about what's coming or what's been, just focusing on what I can do now. Because the present moment is the point where we have the most control over our own lives as well, where we can take action. By thinking in the past or thinking in the future, we have no control, we have no action over that. But by being in the present moment, we do have control over that.
When you say a simple life, you could argue that the government, the councils, corporations, all the time try to sort of sell things on the basis that it's of benefit us to help us. You know, instead of having to light a fire and take raw ingredients and cook them from basics, we can give you TV dinners, and then when you come home from work and you're just tired, just switch the television on and eat this food which you heat up in a microwave, which will do it very, very quickly. And in a way, that is sold to us as a simple life. Yet, in my book, that's actually taken away the life part of it.
Yeah.
It's simple, but you're not actually living because somebody's done everything for you. So you may as well just be sort of sat in some cocoon being spoon fed. Now I'm assuming your simple life is very different to all of that stuff I've just described.
That seems like a simple, controlled life where you're not actually taking much control of yourself. And whilst it may seem simple, is it going to be simple on your body? Is it going to be simple on your mind? Being in that state of just eating all them, like
or
again,
even fulfilling.
Yeah, you're not going to be doing much. Living the same day in and out. Is that really going to be what you want to be saying, sitting on your deathbed thinking about later on in life? Just saying, I lived the same day over and over again. It was very easy, but the best things in life aren't always easy. You know, if you want something, you've got to go and get it. Things aren't just handed to you these days, and if they are handed to you, there must be a catch behind it. What's going on? But some people may want to do that and just sit down all day and sit and watch TV. And if they really want to do that, okay, it's up to them. But you just got to remember, is that really the life you want? When you're looking back and reflecting on that, are you going to say this was a life well spent, or are you going to wish you did more with your life? And I can already tell you the answer now. It's going to be you wish you did more with your life. Because whilst again, it may seem simple, it's not going to be simple on your mind or body because you're going to be living in a depressed state, an unhealthy state, again, not eating these natural foods, just eating all this processed food. It's going to take a toll on you both mentally and physically. And later on in life, it's not going to be simple when you're having to deal with all that. And later on in life, it's going to be harder for you to do that when you're not young. So you might as well take action now, and you can still live a simple and happy life. It doesn't have to be sitting on the couch all day and eating processed food. You can go out and live your life, go out and enjoy yourself, have fun. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say that, I mean, there's a huge difference between something being simplified to something that is a simple way of doing things, but is fulfilling, so that there's a sense of achievement.
Yeah.
And either for yourself, oh, I've actually achieved something today, I didn't do it before, because I had a simple life where someone just like a baby, you're spoon fed
Hmm.
baby food, which is in many ways where we still are with a lot of people. They're still in nappies being given baby food that's produced for them. They're not actually growing it. They're not necessarily cooking it. They've forgotten how to bring the family round the table and having a discussion about the things they did and sharing stories. They're letting other people do the entertainment. Professionals are doing the entertainment for them through the television, forming opinions for them, not really growing. But you can still have a simple life, in my book anyway, but have a fulfilling life in which, as you just alluded to, some bits may be a bit harder because you're having to go through the motions, in a way that you're not being spoon fed.
Yeah, I think, like we said before earlier, people sort of seem to have got a bit lazy these days and just happy just to let everything else happen for them, not have much control over their own lives, and like I said, being baby fed, baby spoon fed. But it doesn't have to be that way. Like you say, a simple life can still be fulfilling. For me, I have a simple life, not because I don't do anything. I've got the podcast and I've still got a social life as well. But the fact it's simple is also fulfilling because I'm still going after what I want and doing what I want. I want to live the way I do. And I just don't make it over. Like I said, people overcomplicate things these days. They make their own problems. They bring out issues that aren't actually issues, but they feel like if they haven't got these issues, maybe life's just a bit boring. They want to create these own problems for themselves. But for me, I have a very simple life and a fulfilling life because I'm still going after what I want to do and doing it the right way, what I believe is the right way. And if people want to just sit down, be spoon fed, they can. But is it really going to be fulfilling? Like you say, are you really going to be happy at the end of that? Or do you feel like if you had more control over your life and took some action and said, okay, I really need to start making changes here. It may seem difficult at first, but like with any habit someone wants to create, the more you do something, the easier it becomes. So
Mm.
the more you want to make change in your life, the easier it's going to become for you. You just have to, the hardest step for anyone to make change is just taking that first step. Then the rest of it is easy because you've already done it once, you can do it again. It's just the question of, are you willing to make that change? Or do you want life to stay the same way and just repeat it cycle by cycle? And I think most people do want to make change. They're just maybe a bit scared of, because it's changed, it's new for them. People aren't used to it, so people get a bit scared of the uncertainty because they're so comfortable in doing what they've always done. When something new happens, they seem a bit, you know, worried. It's not, they're not used to it. But that's when you've got to embrace change because the one constant thing in life, the one inevitable is change.
Mm.
No day is the same day. No matter how much you want it to be, there's always going to be something different. No matter even the slightest little thing, it's still going to be a different day. The same person you were back in 5 years ago or 10 years ago is not who you are now. You have a different mindset, you have entirely different mindset, different thoughts, different feelings. You are not who you were once before. And so remember that when you do want to make change, you're always going to be, change is always going to happen. No matter how much you want to avoid it, change is always going to happen. And so you might as well embrace it and see it as a challenge to improve yourself, to better yourself. Are you going to just let it roll over you, or are you going to take a stand and say, I'm the one in control of my life? I'm the one who's going to overcome this.
Do you think technology has changed people's, or made them more lazy? Because
Hmm.
technology seems to do so much for us, and with the advent of AI coming in, that people can effectively write books by just inputting a few simple ideas, and AI will do all the writing bit, and you just very quickly there it is. Or in terms of creating pictures, AI will create these pictures. They always look very AI at the moment, and I'm sure that will improve in time. But has that taken away our ability to be creative, for example? So it has technology helped or hindered us to have a simple life, do you think?
I think I do like this question. It's very interesting because the one side of it, it can overall, I think it is a negative thing. But the one point I do like about the technology is for people that are far away from each other, like families or lost or friends on other sides of the world, it can help you connect with them, which can be a really positive thing. You reconnecting with people you may have not been in touch with for 5 or 10 years, and you can rekindle that. So it's brilliant in that ways. But with the creativity side, it is a massive hinder. It's a massive negative because, especially with the younger generation, because like people who have homework these days and have essays to write or do artwork or anything like that, they can just go grab it off AI. They don't have to write anything anymore. AI is going to produce a story out for them. They don't have to worry about it. And with technology as well, with like consoles and like PlayStations, everything like that, the younger generation don't want to get outside anymore and play with each other, socially interacting with each other. They rather just do it through the technology when they could be literally down the road from one another. They'd rather just sit in their own rooms in the dark, playing on the TV, which isn't good for you. All that screen time as well, not getting out there in the sun, getting that vitamin D in, it is causing a harm to you. It's causing a harm to them. And with the AI again, it just seems to be taking over people's lives, and it's going to get worse as we get on in the future when AI gets more powerful, more creative, and more advanced. Best way I can say it. No one's going to seem to be want to be creative because we're getting into that sort of lazy state where people just want to sit and watch TV and have the ready cooked meals. And when it comes to work time or like school homework time, AI is there. I might as well use that. It's going to save me time so I can get back onto playing on my PlayStation or whatever, watching TV. So
Mm.
creativity is going to take a massive downfall with that unless people start taking back their own action and start taking back control of their own lives and say, you know what, I've got this, I'm here for a reason. I've got this brain here. Why am I just going to let it go to waste? Why aren't I doing something with this? Why aren't I doing more with this? Am I just going to let this computer take over my life for me and just do everything? Or am I going to start taking control of that? Because you see people as well. I've only seen it recently, but you see people starting to date AI, having like relationships and like talking to them like they're a couple. And
Right.
it's like, wow, we really have lost touch with the outer world. People just want to stay inside their dark rooms all day and just start communicating with the computer. People just seem to be comfortable with that now and don't really see how much of a problem it is. We need that human connection. We need that physical connection with some people. And we seem to be losing that. And it is really a problem. And I can only imagine, unless something happens, a major change happens, it's going to get worse.
Right. About the age of my youngest son, who is he's actually 29, I think, somewhere around there,
Mm.
28, 29. So you're a similar sort of age to him, and he grew up with the internet and computers, and so he didn't really know the analog world where. In the old days, I used to go out with a cine camera. You get 3.5 minutes of cine film in a cartridge, and you've got the projector out, and you had to play it on the screen. It was a right old rigmarole compared to using one of these things where you
Yes.
just point and shoot now, and people are collecting photographs in the tens of thousands.
Yeah.
In my day, you had 24 exposure or 36 exposures on a film, so you had to be selective. You had to be very choosy about how you
Yeah.
took the pictures, and also it was expensive because you had to send it off, and it cost you money and all the rest of it. Now it's all right. It's still costing you money in your agreement on buying the phone or your contract every month, but you don't see that as an individual cost to the photographs. As somebody who's grown up then with the internet and with these new gadgets coming in all the time, almost every week, and adverts for certain large companies trying to get you to buy into their tablet, their headphones, their telephones, their watches, their, all of their stuff that they have. How do young people ever get a chance to explore a more analog real world? You seem to be very awake to all of this, but how do other people manage to? How do we persuade the next generation to, even for a few hours a day, to put down their earbuds, to switch off their screens, and to walk outside into that great amazing world?
It's a tough one. It really is because it seems so easy these days for people just to like the kids just to go on their TVs and Xbox or their consoles or phones and just communicate that way. But For me personally, when I was with my friends at the weekends, having that, even though we communicate by like messenger or text or whatever you want to call it, when we were there actually together, we you could feel the vibes and energy of one another, how happy we all were to be together. And I think that would apply the same with kids as well. When they get out with their friends, they'll have a much happier time being there with each other, having that human interaction, that social interaction. And when you look at the memories you're going to have later on in life for the kids, are you really going to remember the ones where you're just sitting on your phone or sitting in your room? Or are you going to remember the ones where you're with your friends having a mess about outside? I
Mm.
don't know, on a rainy day, you're playing football in the mud, or you just
You'll
trying to
always
climb a
remember the
tree.
day you fell out of a tree. Yeah, you know.
Exactly. And with your friends there laughing with you, that's gonna create a core memory for you and have that. It's gonna bring you close with your friends. But
Mm.
for me, more so, it's having that feeling, that energy, feeling that connection with your friends when you're in person, because you can't feel it over the phone or over your console, whatever you're doing, like in your room. You have to be out there with the people, with your friends, and you bond together. You can share it. You can share with each other. You feel happier. You can feel the connection. You can feel the energy from the other people. When they're laughing, you're laughing too. And when you're sad, again, even if you're feeling a bit underwhelmed or sad and you're out with your friends, they can feel that. And they're there for you and they're with you. So they can ask you what's wrong. And you can talk it out and you can explain to each other why you're feeling the way you do. And you can work through it with them. And afterwards, you're going to feel better. And again, it's another memory you've created, knowing that your friends are there for you and they understand you and they want to help you. But if you're just in your room every day, just on your phone or on your Xbox or whatever, and just hiding how you feel because it's easier to do that, you can't feel each other's energy, you're not going to live a happier life. You're going to be sad. No matter how much you enjoy it at this moment in time, you don't realize how much of a toll it takes on you later on in life and how you wish you did more. You wish you went out, your friends interacted, went to new places, seen new things with them. You know, at the end of the day, it's going to be much better for you to be out there with your friends, connecting with each other, having them interactions, making some good memories as well. Even the sad
Mm.
memories, you know that you at least you're with your friends there. Even if
Mm.
something goes wrong, at least you know you're not on your own. Then your friends are there with you, and they're going to help you through it.
When I was young, we had youth clubs. We
Yeah,
had places where people could go. Kids of all ages, really, from about 10 upwards. You could go and you could play snooker, you could play badminton, you could play, those sort of games. Or you could do all sorts of different projects and things, building things and what have you. I don't know whether that still happens anymore. It doesn't appear to happen.
no,
Maybe there's a few after school clubs, but who really wants to go to after school? The great thing about a youth club was it was away from school and it was a bit of a trendy place where young people could go to. And so, is there anywhere for young people to go like that now?
I do think there is. You just have to go and find it. Maybe your parents can
Mm.
help you with that as well. For me, when I was young, like early days, early teenager days, there were still activities you could do, sports activities like youth clubs as well. And it was a great place to meet new people and find something that you're both interested in. For me, when my brother and I did basketball club, we did basketball at some camps during the time off school. We were able to interact with people who had the same interests as us, which was basketball. And so we were able to form a bond there. So if there's young kids out there that like sports, go and join a sports club. You'll find
Mm.
people there that have the same interests with you because they're there. They wouldn't be there if they didn't have the interests. Or, if you're into martial arts, go and do that. If you're into music, go and find a music club or just go find something that you're interested in. Your hobbies, your interests. If you go after them, you're going to find the same people that are on the same sort of wavelength as you there, and you're going to form a bond because you have interests that are the same.
Mm.
Sure, maybe not every interest will be the same, but that's good in the way because you can learn from one another and say, okay, this person has different interests to me. Let me see how I feel about them when I interact and do them. Maybe you don't like them, maybe you do, but at least you're learning from that and you can sort of build a connection with them no matter what. But whilst people, it may seem everything these days is all technology, just talking on consoles and text or phone, whatever. There are still youth clubs out there for young children, even just sports ones, music ones, and from what I've seen in London, this as well. Um, there are still social events out there for people to go out. If people like a little drink, not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if people like a drink, there are social clubs at like bars and pubs that people can go to and interact with people, especially if they live in London on their own. It's nice for them to go
Yes.
out and meet some people there, make some friends and connections. But the point is, there are clubs and youth clubs out there still, but more so find ones that are in that you're interested in, ones that
Mm.
match with your hobbies, your interests, because you're going to
Yes.
meet people with the same interests as well, and then you can form some bonds with them and make some long-lasting friendships. I know from my experiences as well. I've got friends to this day that I've met through experiences like that because we just went to this one club one time and we formed a good bond and relationship from that.
I guess the technology is useful there to help you find those sort of clubs. That's
Yeah,
one good thing. You know, you can easily search online or join a Telegram group or a WhatsApp group, and then, you know, there are events that are organized in the real world. So, you know, whilst it's easy to sort of say that all technology is bad,
a
the actual,
few good ones. Yeah.
there's some good things. Do you think that in time, people, and I've seen sometimes there's a hint of this, that because people are brought up on screens and there's nothing visceral to get hold of and pull apart. I mean, when computers first came out, Windows computers, I remember they were a bit like jigsaw, like Lego. You could pull one bit out, you could have a new graphics card, you could change this, you could do this, and so in a way it was quite fun because you could strip the thing and do it out. With tablets and phones, what you get is all you've got. You can't really muck
Yeah.
about with it too much. Do you think that actually we may go through a cycle where people actually just get bored of screens, that once they see something in the real world and go, hey, hold on a second, that's a bit more fun? Do you think we will get out of this cycle of people being stuck behind screens? Just a natural thing that people just get bored eventually?
I really like to think so. I really do because when you go out to like a different country or somewhere like that, or you go hiking up in the Lake District or Peak District, you're completely mesmerized by what you see, the scenery, everything like that, the lakes, the views, everything. And you kind of forget about your phone. You're like, this is the least important thing to me right now.
Hmm.
Nature is just, people forget how magical nature is and how beautiful it is. It's not man made, nothing like that. It's just formed. And I think once people really get into nature and or go to somewhere they've not been to before, they completely forget about their phones. They don't worry about them. They find this is the last thing I need to worry about right now. I'm look where I am. This is
Hmm.
just incredible, and I need to really just appreciate what's around us. So I think that will happen at some point. People will just start to appreciate more of what's around us, especially with how technology is going and how everything these days is sort of turning into buildings. We're sort of losing more and more nature as the years go on. So I think at some point people will start to realize how amazing and how beautiful nature really is, and they'll start pushing back on that and starting to get more and more nature back into our lives. So I think that will happen. Unfortunately, you still get it where you'll go to like a nice beach or somewhere and people are just taking photos of it and they'll just be on their phones looking at the beach through their phone. It's like, just put that down a second and just
Hmm.
really appreciate where you are. Not everyone can say they've been here. Not everyone can say they've done this. Just really appreciate where you are now and the people around you, because this could be a once in a lifetime opportunity for you. Just hiking to like the top of one of the mountains in Peak District or Lake District, and you when you're there, just taking it all in, you're like, this is incredible. Why have I waited so long to do this? And I think once that happens, you sort of get hooked onto it. You're like, I need to see more of this now. I need to really go out and explore the rest of the UK, for example, or the rest of the world and see what else is out there for me.
Hmm.
So I think there will come a point where once people start getting out in nature once, they'll then start to really appreciate and go, okay, enough of the phone times. I need to go out there and explore the world. I know some people that have done it once or a few times now, and they've gone traveling all over the world because they've just started to really appreciate the fact that we may not always be around. We don't know how long we've got. So why am I going to just spend the last few years or however long on my phone or in my house when I can go out and explore everything I can whilst I'm still here?
Hmm. It is an irony that tourists who go to all sorts of different places seem to, especially say art galleries, and there they are with this wonderful Van Gogh or whatever it is, they'll stand and take the most important time is taking a selfie with the picture
Yeah.
behind them. They're not even looking at the picture, and then they move on as if to say
Oh,
That's the most important thing, is to get their
Get the
narcissistic
selfie.
picture. Yeah, get the selfie in.
Yeah,
So that the irony of that, of course, is most bizarre. And then you wonder if ever they've looked at the pictures, and they, as you mentioned before, they're not actually present in that environment,
no,
wherever it is. If there's a wonderful piece of nature in front of them, or an incredible rock formation that towers above them and reminds them that they're on a planet that has so much beauty,
no.
and they're still engaged with the, hang on, how do I get that clip? I'll just send that to my friend. It's more important to say, hey,
Yeah,
look at me, I'm here, rather than actually saying it to yourself. Wow, I'm here, look at this is incredible.
yeah.
And as you say, it's nice to hope that people, once they get out into that, they start to think, actually, the real world is something more than these VR, don't worry about having to go anywhere. We'll create this in virtual reality for you,
Yeah.
and we'll stimulate you as if you're in a pod like in the Matrix, rather than actually being out there.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's free as well. It's like
and
nature's free.
yeah,
You don't have to pay to go and just go up for a hike or anything. Sure, you may have to like pay for a little fuel or something to get there, or if you're fortunate, you can walk or hike there yourself or bike.
yes,
But it's free. But like you say, people would rather just let everyone else know, especially with the photos. They'd
mm,
rather let everyone else know, look, this is where I've been. Look where I am. Let me feed my ego a little bit more to show you that I'm here. And
mm,
then they'll just, once they're at the top of it, they'll just go back straight back down. Or once they've taken the picture of the painting, which is only like half in it, they say,
yeah,
okay, I'm done now. I've shown people I'm here. I don't
yeah.
really need to see anything else or do anything else. I can just go straight back to my hotel room or go back straight back home. Because as long as people know I've been there, that's all that matters. They just want people to know they're not just that all boring. They want people to know, look, there's a little bit of interesting side to me.
Yeah,
But
my life is really exciting
yeah,
because I've stood in front of a picture I hadn't appreciated at all this amazing natural feature in land. I haven't really paid any attention to that and not seen anything other than, hey, but I'm here. That's so
exactly.
important. That's so important. Your podcast, you said it to me before we started filming, and I said it's about getting back in touch with earth and nature. So as we're running out of time, it's amazing how the time goes.
Does, yeah.
How do you, Sam, get back in touch with earth and nature? What do you do?
So for me, there are quite a few things I like to do. I like to ground as well, so take my shoes off and socks off and connect with the earth. Because if people want to look this up, there are lots of benefits to this as well. We are electrical beings as well as the earth is, and so we can discharge any negative energy onto the earth, and it can balance us out. But I also just like to not take my phone with me and just go for walks out in nature because there's quite a few fields where I am and some trees as well, a few forests not far from me, and just really connect with nature, just being one with nature. Not like the first thing in the morning is what I'll do is I'll go outside and get some sunlight. But some people will like to just go on their phones first and check the news or check if anyone's messaged them. Like that's the most important thing. But no, just go outside, just take a few deep breaths and connect. Like just appreciate the sun, appreciate you're here another day, and be grateful for that. I know. So another thing as well is like getting outside, really connecting with Earth. You know, just getting rid of, stop focusing too much on the materialistic things. Stop focusing on all of that because money comes, especially like with the money side, money comes and goes, but what's out here, it doesn't always last. And so we need to really appreciate that and really not take it for granted these days. So get
Mm.
out there, connect with it, get some friends with you on the weekend, go for a hike, go somewhere new that you've not been before. I mean, we've got loads of ancient ruins here as well in the UK that I think people are just so focused on Stonehenge, but there's so many more. There's so much more out here that people can go and see, and they're free. You don't have to go and pay for all of these exhibits or go and pay for all these like activities. Just go out there and just really connect with Mother Earth or Mother Nature, as they say, and just stop focusing too much on the fake world, the metaverse, whatever you want to call it. So get out there and focus on the real world, not the fake world that you're looking through your screen or watching on your TV or anything like that. Just go out there with your friends or family and just connect with your family and connect with the earth as well. Because we don't know how long we've got on here, so
Mm.
do the most you can with that. Get out there, enjoy yourselves, and just live a little, enjoy your life, live it to the fullest.
Live a little. That's what you got to do. Live a little. I love it.
Exactly.
So your podcast, I said before, is The Simple Life with Sam. Where can people find that, Sam?
So if you want to type it in on YouTube, you can. I'm currently in the process of recording them. I've still got three up there. My fourth one's coming out this coming Monday with my dad, who you know as well. So that'll be down the rabbit hole for some people who like that. But yeah, if you want to look at me on YouTube, I'm also on Instagram as well with the Simple Life with Sam as well. And again, if you want to connect with me as well, I'd love to hear what other people have to say. And if they've got any interest or any help they need, I'm more than happy to do that as well and help in any way I can.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us about The Simple Life with Sam
No, thank
and the
you.
podcast, and sharing, as I do, your distaste for the commercial way of curing yourself from various ailments and actually looking towards more of nature's cures, which are abundantly around there.
Yeah,
And it's amazing what sort of things can do for you, such as dandelions and communal garden things that we
exactly.
dismiss. We just dismiss and think, oh, what's that bloody flower again?
Yeah,
That has helped so many people in the past, and we need to get those that knowledge back into us so that we can cure ourselves from various things without having to spend too much money and having side effects.
yeah,
Nobody wants.
it's true. I mean, all the things that can heal us, majority of the things are free. You just have to go out there and find them. But for those who are uncertain or unsure of where to start, by all means, you can also contact me. I'm more than happy to try and put you in the right direction. But at the end of the day, do your own research as well. Look into it, see what you align with, and see what doesn't fit right with you. And if you're unsure on anything, just let me know if you want, and I'm more than happy to help any way I can as well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again for joining us. It's been absolutely invigorating to hear from young people, and I'd love to hear from more young people about how optimistic they are, particularly optimism. I don't want to hear negative
No,
stuff because we hear that all the time, but optimism is great, particularly among the next generation coming up, because that's what we definitely need. So there we go. Sam, A Simple Life with Sam. Check it out. I'll put a YouTube link to it in the description to help people because they're so lazy they can't look it up themselves. I know it's mad, isn't it?
brilliant.
Although, of course, my links have been, you have to copy and paste them because YouTube don't like me terribly much. But never mind. I'll be back with more monologues and more wonderful guests. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Sam, for taking part. And until next time, from Sam and I, bye-bye.
Bye bye.